My grandfather was at this military school during the big war, which was the war between the states. And while he was there, he was just 15 years old, and the war was drawing to a close. So he and his whole class volunteered for service with the Confederacy, and they were accepted for duty at that young age, but they could only use them for limited duty. So he said he was trained as a guard or a sentry. And after he completed his training, they gave him his first assignment. And he happened to draw the shift from midnight till 4 o'clock in the morning. And they put him in a wagon, took him out to the edge of the encampment, dropped him off at his post. He said it was a very dark night with no moon shining, and his post was right next door to a dark wooded area. And he said he stood there for a couple of hours being very lonesome and miserable. But then he heard a rustling noise over in the dark woods. Couldn't see anything, but his instructions were to challenge, so he said halt. Didn't get any verbal response, couldn't see anything, so he said halt second time, same results. Third time he said halt, and by this time the noise was very close, but he still couldn't see anything. And his instructions were that if you challenge 3 times with no answer, you shoot. So he fired his musket at the noise, and he heard something drop. Well, you can imagine how a 15-year-old boy might have felt, didn't know what he'd done. He walked over to investigate, found out that he had killed a pig, which was his big war experience. That's typical of the stories he told me as a child. Did you ever hear the story of Mr. Winter, who grew the long beard? Well, Mr. Winter was an old man when we knew him as children, but he had a long white beard, and children always thought of him as maybe being Santa Claus. But the way he got that long white beard was after the war between the states, or during the war, I guess, he swore that he would never shave until the South won the war. Well, of course, the South didn't win the war, and he honored that oath he made and never did shave. And so that's the reason he had the long white beard. But that's typical of some of the Madisonians.